Well, good morning. Thank you for taking a coffee break with us. My name's Tanya. I'm an MST therapist with North Range Behavioral Health. MST is just a multi-systemic therapy, which means, in layman's terms, intensive in-home family therapy for adolescents that are struggling, and I'm working with their families to help them with that. So today we're going to chat a little bit about filling your own cup, self-care strategies for now and for later. So I'm going to invite you to sit back, take a breath, have a little self-care, and have some coffee. Because goodness knows one of my self-care strategies is definitely having my own coffee. So I want you to think about a cell phone charger. Some of us are pretty routine in charging our cell phones. We'll plug it in at night, kind of let it charge while we're sleeping. Maybe if we have a longer commute, we plug it in during that commute. But like I said, it's pretty routine. However, there are those times where our phone gets drained and we do have to plug it in, at lunchtime, borrow somebody's charger, if we're at the office or again in the car, and just to make sure it makes it through the day. No big. Then we also have those people that are a little less structured in their routine and probably don't even have a routine, and they just kind of plug it in, plug their cell phone in as they need it. Again, no big deal. However, with those people that don't have that structure, don't have that routine, they might find themselves kind of struggling and stressing out. Oh, my phone's about to die, especially when it is at a really inopportune time. You're on your way to the grocery store, you need to call your roommate, your friend, your spouse, your kids, to see if you have something. Well, crap, my phone's dead. Pretty inconvenient. Self-care is kind of the same thing. If we have that self-care routine, we're less likely to die at those inopportune times. And I probably should use a different word than die. Run out of juice, or have an empty cup, as we should say. Like I said, if we do it on a regular basis, it makes a difference. And we find those, empty cups at an inopportune time are less likely to happen. But there are still those times where we have to take the time to fill it up, give ourselves a little boost, and go forward with it. So, how do we stay charged? How do we keep our cups full? Why is it important? What are we seeing as warning signs? I mean, with a cell phone, it's very clear when our battery's going low. I mean, even, with mine, I think it's at 15%, it alerts me and I see the ugly red battery symbol, which can cause a little bit of stress, But with us, we don't have a walking battery symbol. We don't have that coffee cup in front of us where we can see that it's starting to, wear out and be empty, I guess you could say. So with self-care, what is it? How are we taking care of ourselves? Are we considering our physical health, our emotional health, our mental health? All of these combine into the whole person, and really just having that relationship with ourselves so we're able to recognize if our battery's starting to get low, if our cup's starting to get empty, so we can start filling it up again. And one of the most important things I really want to stress here is self-care doesn't equal happy. Most of the time, if we're doing self-care, it's because we're feeling some other emotion and we're trying to be okay with that. And so I would encourage you, as part of your self-care practice, is to really do an emotional check-in with yourself. What are you feeling? A mental check-in, a physical check-in. Are you feeling it in certain parts of your body? And just acknowledge it and be okay with that. And that's just a little clue of what you may or may not need. So with deliberate activity, and so that's what I really want to stress with self-care. It is a deliberate activity. We are taking time, we're being intentional about what we're doing, we're being intentional about why we're doing it, how we're feeling during it, how we're feeling afterwards. Just utilizing a lot of mindfulness components. You probably have heard it a million different times, and sometimes mindfulness gets confused with meditation, which can be a self-care strategy, But mindfulness is just kind of an awareness, being present, being like focused internally, externally, checking in with yourself, your body, um, all of that good stuff. So I guess maybe the best way to describe it is one of the examples I use all the time with the families I work with, and that's my morning coffee. And we're doing coffee break right now, so it works. So my morning coffee, if I usually drink mine on the road. If I'm going down, just chugging it down because I just need that caffeine, it's one of those days, it makes a difference. And probably not the best of difference. If I slow down and sit and enjoy my coffee, I sip it, I am mindful of how I feel. I am mindful of little things, recognizing the senses. How does the coffee smell? What does it taste like? Really enjoying the coffee and not being so focused on the next thing of, oh, I need to do this paperwork first thing in the morning. I have this meeting I have to go to. That's not being mindful. That's not utilizing a perfect opportunity for some self-care. And it is one of my self-care strategies. I have my coffee in the morning, so I'm sitting down, again, like I said, I'm usually in my car, and I'm enjoying it. I'm listening to my music, I'm being mindful. I have a million different thoughts rush through my head sometimes, and that's okay. And I'm not saying block those out, but I'm saying recognize they're there, and just kind of let them go. Let them float away. Be like, soon enough, I'll deal with it. I see the post on Facebook a lot about it's, if you're anxious about something, you're only worrying about it twice. So you're worrying about it before it even happens, and then you worry about it again when it does happen, if it does happen. And so saving some energy there. But refilling my cup, just enjoying the few minutes. And I'll kind of go a little bit into different examples of self-care and what that looks like here in a minute. But I want to also really stress the difference between self-care and coping strategies. A lot of times they overlap and they're the same, and we use some of the same strategies for different things, and that's perfectly fine. But I really want to emphasize why we're saying self-care and then versus just using a coping skill. Usually if we're saying here's a coping skill, it's trying to de-escalate an emotion, whether it's intense anger, intense sadness, intense anxiety, intense fear, whatever it may be. We're using that coping skill to kind of empty that emotional cup. With self-care, what we're trying to do, we're trying to refill that cup, and so we're recharging, we're being deliberate, we're using that action to, like I said, recharge ourselves. So why do we self-care? So we're being pulled in a million different directions. We're having to wear so many different hats, especially right now. There's so much unknown. One of my best friends that I was talking to, she was like, normally I don't get stressed out and I don't worry about things, but right now there's so much unknown, it's stressing her out. And so we had that conversation of how are we taking care of ourselves? And it's so true, and it's so necessary. So especially if we're some of us were working from home, we're being a parent, we're helping our kids with the at-home schooling, and then we're still having to take care of the household, cooking, cleaning. Sometimes we're fortunate enough to have some help with that, whether it's a spouse or family member, other kids. Like I said, sometimes we're fortunate enough to have that help, but some of us don't, and that's okay. But that emphasizes the point of we're starting to get empty cups, and not all of us are being intentional with refilling them. And so some of the potential consequences or things we might see if we aren't taking care of ourselves and we're needing it. So some of the things we might see is decreased energy, a lack of motivation, a decrease in patience, and you'll probably see this most with the people around us. Obviously, we're not getting out as much. One of my big warning signs that I need to take care of myself is lack of patience when I'm driving. But since I'm not driving, that doesn't happen as much, so I got to look for some other signals that I might need things. Um, so maybe you're seeing a decrease in productivity or effectiveness. Usually when we're talking about productivity or effectiveness, we're talking about work related things, but it's also the same thing at home. Because even if you're a stay at home parent, that is a full time job. And you may see that you're not being as productive with getting the household duties done that you normally do, whether it's cleaning or cooking or organizing, helping kiddos with homework. Increase in irritability. Again, we see this most often with the people closest to us. Are we getting a little more irritable and snapping at our kids a little bit more than normal? Are they even saying that to us? Are we snapping at our other family members or our spouse? Increase in mental health symptoms. Some of these kind of coincide with each other. Maybe it's, the anxiety, the depression, the fear, the anxiousness. If we have trauma in our background, sometimes some of those symptoms pop up a little bit more or intensify. Our physical health. Are we having headaches, stomach aches? Our blood pressure can go up. Muscle tension. Again, our mental health and our physical health are so closely linked that sometimes that's one of the best signifiers that we need to really look and examine ourselves and see what's going on. Increased in sleep problems, not falling asleep, unable to get up, waking up throughout the night, unrestful. Maybe it's an increase in substance use. I've seen a couple of different articles talking about there's an increase in alcohol use right now. Is it out of boredom? Is it out of a coping skill? We don't know, but that's definitely something to show that maybe we can find some other strategies that can help us in a time such as this. Maybe there's an increase in hopelessness. With the unknown, I know with the stay-at-home order lifting next week, yeah, we have some hope, and we still don't know what it really means long term. Are we having relationship strains? Are we increasing in isolation or just kind of closing ourselves off from people? So here's probably what you're here for. Ways of self-care. So I really want to emphasize that it doesn't have to be anything big. It doesn't have to be, daily massages and weekly hair appointments and fancy candles and ain't nobody got time for all that, nor do we have the money for all of that. So start with your basic needs. Are your basic needs being met? If you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that's kind of what we're talking about. You can't really move forward if your basic needs aren't met. So, are you sleeping? Are you getting some physical activity? Are you eating healthily? And I'm not saying you can't have the occasional snack. I'm pretty bad about that. But moderation. Right? Are you having a social connection? Being connected with coworkers. Obviously, if you have people living in your house, you have some, but what if you're living by yourself? How are you getting that social connection? Because as humans, we need that. And I would even say, the gratitude or even a specific mindset. It's all about reframing. Am I stuck at home because of all this? Yes, I am. And I'm safe at home. And I'm very fortunate I'm able to work from home. It makes a difference. Excuse me. So also with this, I would also really encourage you, fresh air and sunlight. Open up your windows. Take a walk outside. I was going to sit outside and get my own fresh air and sunlight today, but I had a chainsaw going on in the backyard after that snowstorm. So really recognize that connection between your body and your mind. What are you needing? Sometimes self-care is getting up every day, brushing your teeth, brushing your hair, doing your basic hygiene. And I will fully say I notice a difference when I don't get up every day and I don't do basic hygiene. I may not necessarily do my makeup every day. Money saver right there. But I'm still getting up and getting out of bed. Even getting up and getting dressed every day. That can be self-care, and I highly encourage it. So one thing to really focus on here, too, is everyone has different ways of recharging. If you are familiar with kind of that extrovert-introvert line of thinking, this is a huge part of it. It's how do we get our energy? And if you're not familiar with it, introverts meaning they tend to get more of their energy internally, and they tend to not need as much social interaction. Extroverts are kind of the opposite, where they are very outgoing, they're very social, and they get their energy by spending time with their friends and large group gatherings, being active. And not to say introverts don't get their energy this way, it's just on a smaller scale, it's more one on one. And extroverts, it's like, oh, group activity, let's go, fabulous. So, really looking at that and trying to get a handle of where you fall on that, because knowing that can help you recharge more effectively instead of draining some of your energy. Because sometimes, I've got friends that are like, ooh, group activity, I don't have the energy for that. Perfectly fine. Ooh, excuse me. And it's like, okay, if that's not how you recharge, how do you recharge? What does that look like for you? And right now it's really hard because we can't be super social if you're an extrovert. We can't be out there, one of my big self-care things is partially social, partially physical. It's going and working out in the morning with the girls I work out with. It's a big group of us. We've become friends. I notice a difference when I'm not able to do that. So how do we fill that gap? Zoom, Facebook, Google has some chats, Microsoft Teams. There's technology is our friend, and let's use it. Have a girls' night or a guys' night where you're all sitting talking about this on the phone, seeing each other face to face. Let's have a drink, let's have some coffee, let's laugh and joke, let's play cards. There's so many different technology advances. There are apps where you can even play Cards Against Humanities as a family. To me, that sounds amazing, and I really need to do that because I kind of go back and forth between introvert and extrovert, so definitely having that connection is huge. Stay connected with people, reach out. We're all struggling, and we're all struggling in different ways, and staying connected is going to be one of the biggest things to help recharge yourself. If you're an introvert, look at having those phone calls if you're on your own. What helps you recharge? Is it a nice hot bath with one of those nice fancy bath bombs? Is it, writing in a journal? Is it being creative? Is it reading a book? Is it just watching a really good movie or binging on Netflix or Hulu? Absolutely. Just find what interests you, and really, again, self-care is a deliberate activity. So when you're enjoying and engaging in these things, being very deliberate, making sure you're aware of what you're doing, why you're doing it, and if these thoughts come rushing in your head, which perfectly fine, but letting them rush right back out so you can fully enjoy and be present in the moment. Sometimes self-care is just saying no. Sometimes self-care is saying, no, I'm not up for picking up this extra work project. I'm kind of burnt. I'm done. That's fine. Recognizing your boundaries and sticking to it. And even letting other people know. Schedule your self-care. Put it in your calendar. Set an alert on your phone. Put it in an app where it will remind you just to take 10 minutes to sit and breathe. That's fine. And most importantly, self-care is the little things up to, those big massages that we can sometimes splurge on. Don't give in to this pressure and this thought that, we've got to utilize this time where, I can learn a new skill, or I can organize all my closets. I can do this, I can do that. You're just going to stress yourself out and empty your cup. So it's okay if you don't do that. If you're able to, that's fabulous. Good for you, and maybe that's your self-care. Maybe cleaning and organizing is a way to refill your cup. Fabulous. Do it if it works for you. So I'm going to leave you with a challenge. They say it takes 21 days to set a new habit. So I'm going to challenge you to create a new habit of self-care, and start small, whether it's enjoying your morning coffee, tea, water, whatever it may be. Maybe it's just drinking more water, whatever works for you. There's a million different resources online. North Range posted a little chart with some examples, so definitely go back to our page and look at that. But 21 days. If you start tomorrow, that means it goes through May 13th. Sorry, I had to look at my notes for that. But I want you to start today. Notice what you're feeling, what you're doing, what you're not doing, what you would like to do, and do self-care every day for 21 days. Maybe it's not the same thing. Maybe it's something, different. Maybe Monday through Friday, it's the morning coffee, and then Saturday and Sunday, it's sleeping in. Or just enjoying sitting on your patio in the sunshine. Whatever it may be. Do it for 21 days, and then at the end of it, journal how you're feeling. What have you noticed? What differences are you noticing? So if this was helpful and if you enjoyed it, definitely like and share this video. Otherwise, thank you for taking a coffee break with us. We hope to see you for a future coffee break soon. I believe we're doing them Wednesday mornings and Friday afternoons. We're here. In the meantime, take care of yourself, take care of others, and remember, we're here for you. If you or someone you know is experiencing a behavioral health emergency, crisis counselors are available to you all day, every day. Please call 970-347-2120. You can also text TALK, T-A-L-K, to 38255, or you can walk into our crisis center at 928 12th Street in Greeley. Other than that, have a good day and enjoy your coffee.